What's up, YouTube? Welcome to another video, man. Today, we want to talk about something stupid. This doesn't make sense at all, but it's important. Stupid, but important. Today, we want to talk about the relevance, the importance, or the purpose of regional blocks in Africa, like your SADC, your ECOWAS, your East Africa Community, and your North African Middle East Association, whatever they call themselves up there. So that's what we get into next. But you know what we do? Before we get into the video, we're going to have some fun. Let's go. Holla. People, we are I'm in South Africa, and that means South Africa is part of the SADC group of nations, SADC group of countries. SADC stands for the Southern African Development Countries, right? And this regional bloc specifically aims to promote economical, financial, social, trade, every aspect, peace and security in the region, you know, crime prevention, and a whole host of things. They just basically act like the an umbrella body to protect the southern tip of Africa, right? So my question is this: if these organizations that are set up like these regional blocks, right? So I want to specifically talk about SADC because this is where we are based, right? In SADC, right? So when they formed these regional blocks, right? SADC, they had all these beautiful goals, aims, and values in mind, right? And they pledged to execute these goals, these ideals, right? So when a country like Zimbabwe decided that, the leadership decided they were going to go the dictatorial route and then cause mayhem and chaos throughout the region, right? By political unrest and causing mass exodus of people due to political violence and, in the region. What role does SADC play in such a thing? Considering every country has its sovereignty, right? Because every country is a sovereign state. So the sovereignty is always top priority. I totally get it. But where do you draw the line between a country's sovereignty and a country causing untold problems in a region, causing destabilization in other countries? Like, for example, South Africa is bearing the brunt of Zimbabwe's mismanagement of the economy. That's a fact. We cannot hide away from that, right? So my question comes to say, what is SADC doing, or what is SADC saying to the Zimbabwean counterparts in order to curb this chaotic problem that's been persisting for the past, I don't know, I think it's more than a decade now, going almost on to 2 decades, I think. It's going on almost 2 decades. So, what is the purpose of a regional bloc? What is the purpose of SADC if they can't even bring the leaders of member states to order? I mean, what is a sad thing that came to mind is during the Zimbabwean recent elections, SADC sent a team of observers to go and see if the elections were free and fair. The report came back saying that the election was not free and fair because there was political intimidation that was going on. Now, if a SADC delegation went back to SADC and said the election was not free and fair because There was political intimidation. People were being beaten. People were being, I think, shot. If I'm not mistaken, but I know beaten definitely. And they still go ahead and they inaugurate the president, the current head of state in Zimbabwe, right? Why would the other regional heads attend this inauguration knowing damn well that it was not free and fair? What does that say about the body, about the SADC, about the rules and regulations, about upholding the rule of law, about whatever the manifesto of this organization stands for? Why would you attend such an inauguration if you know that it was not free and fair? So my question I then ask is it because you are comrades in arms, because during the struggle they helped you and now it's only right that you help them even though they are committing crimes? Is it fair that you let the masses of Zimbabweans stream into your country, South Africa, as it is, stream into your country, burdening the economy? I mean, we're not saying you cannot help people, but then sometimes you have to go back to the source of the problem for you to curb the problem. But then, is it a case of, well, we militarily we cannot stand up to them, or are you scared of the reprisals that if they decide, well, if you check us, then we are going to do A, B, C, D? What could it be? I mean, at what point do these regional bodies hold each other accountable for the crimes committed to their own citizens, which then destabilizes the regions? I mean, it's undeniable that the mass migration of Zimbabweans into South Africa is causing tensions between the Zimbabweans and the locals because the pressure and the burden on the economy, the competition for resources, the just the sheer volume of undocumented foreigners coming in and adding to the crime wave. Not to say that South Africa didn't have crime, but then they're adding to it. You understand what I mean? I mean, some people don't have documents, so they can't work legally, so they have to find some form of survival, and sometimes they resort to crime. And it may not be violent crime, but still, crime is crime. They add into the statistics. Is that fair on South Africa? Do you know what I'm saying? So, at what point does SADC then say, okay, look here, Zimbabwe, we now have to sit you down. We now have to remove you from the organization because you're not listening to us and what we have to say. You know, when do we stop listening to you? When do we need to now rein you in? You know what I'm saying? So those are the things we need to look at. Why SADC and regional other blocs like SADC are so ineffective when reining in their counterparts. Guys, next we get into the cons of having regional blocs. Holla. Oh, we spice, bruh. So the pros of having the pros of having regional blocs. It creates a sense of unity. It creates this sense of community. It creates this um, sense of defense. And, it just shows that we are one. We are committed to one goal, one movement, one idea, one, just a oneness mindset, right? That's the essence of forming these regional blocs, right? And if one country goes down, another country lifts it up, or the rest lift it up. That's what these regional blocs were originally meant to do. And that's a beautiful thing. I mean, on paper, it's beautiful. In practice, it's beautiful. I mean, it wouldn't make sense. It wouldn't make sense for countries in the region to be at war. especially if they're in neighboring countries. You know what I mean? Belong to regional bloc, things can be solved diplomatically, and that's what the blocs are there for, to be created to solve diplomatic issues. Those are cons, right? Solving issues, working together, and it's it's something that we aspire to as Africans on the entire African continent, right? To have such regional blocs that can then form just one massive bloc outside of the AU, because I don't think the AU even functions the way it's supposed to function. But that's a story for another day. Yeah, you know what I mean, guys. Next, we get into the cons of these regional blocs. Hala. Yeah. Wow. The cons of having regional blocs. One, regional blocs don't function the way they're supposed to function. Two, most regional blocs do not even have the basic understanding of what it means to hold each other accountable, because they operate on a buddy system. Do you understand what I'm saying? So regional blocs have, on paper, they are perfect, but in reality, the con is that they either are fearful or respectful of each other, that they just allow whatever the next sovereign state is doing, and they allow it to continue. And they say it's their country, it's their sovereignty, they have to sort it out themselves. Then what is the block there for? You understand what I'm saying? So the con of forming these regional blocks is really, in essence, not holding each other accountable. And I feel like that needs to come to an end. They need to hold each other accountable. Another con of regional blocks is a simple case of um, inter, international in, international affairs. International affairs is where most of the regional blocks do not come together in a sense of unity, right? For example, South Africa lodged a court case against Israel, right? At the International Court in The Hague, somewhere there, right? ICJ, International Court of Justice, right? One would think that the SADC region as a whole would also compound and lodge, you know, nah, there was none of that. So there's no unity. Maybe behind closed doors, but in the open, dude. I don't know if you're getting what I'm trying to say. Behind closed doors, maybe in silence there's unity, but out in the open, it's like, hey, you know. Another con of having these regional blocks is like, let's give an example. Let's just say South Africa is at odds with Israel and America. On the other hand, this Zimbabwe. Zimbabwe is already at odds with America, right? The rest of the regional blocks like Botswana, South Africa, Namibia, Wales, Zambia, they got good working relationships with America and Israel. As a regional bloc, we are supposed to move in unison. We're supposed to move as one. So if one is an injury to one, is an injury to all. If one of us has a problem and being unfairly treated by America, we need to all move as that one that's being ill-treated by America. We cannot be like, oh, well, we're not going to jeopardize our standing with America because they give us this, they give us this. You aren't trying. Guys, what's the point of the regional bloc? We're supposed to be one. Get it? Guys, next we get into the final verdict of why I think regional blocks don't function the way they're supposed to function. Holla. Yo, are you okay up there? My final verdict. I think regional blocks should just be disbanded. If they're not going to move in unison, they should just be disbanded. You cannot have a regional bloc that talks one thing and does another. You cannot have a regional bloc that actually has visas issued to certain countries within the bloc. You need a visa to travel to a certain country within a regional bloc. Doesn't make sense. You cannot have a regional bloc that does not back a member, when a member is being illegally ill-treated by an international community. So, for example, they found out recently that the sanctions that were put on Zimbabwe were actually illegal. What did SADC do about it? Nothing. They just watched Zimbabwe rot and suffer and wallow in those illegal sanctions. Do you know what I'm saying? They were supposed to put pressure. Do you know what NATO does? NATO move as one. They act as one. An injury to one NATO member is an injury to all NATO members. And that's how regional blocs in Africa are supposed to function, move as one. If they put sanctions on one country illegally, the rest of the bloc is supposed to fight for that one to get those sanctions removed. But no, it's like, hey, each one for himself, God for us all. And that should come to an end. Let me know what you think in the comment section below about what this topic is about regional blocs and whether they are relevant or irrelevant. You know what I mean? Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. Road to 500, guys. Road to 500. Thank you to the 427 subscribers, man. Really appreciate it, man. Never thought the channel would grow this far in such a short space of time. But yeah, road to 500. Hope to see you there. Hala, God willing, inshallah. Yeah, it's almost 12 o'clock.